students, this video deals with the support and movement related short questions and answers part 2. So let's get started. Question number 1 is differentiate between chemotactic and chemotropic movement. Before discussing the answer, you must know what an archegonium is. It's the female sex organ of the plant, and you can see the ovum inside it. The sperms are floating towards the ovum. Students, the unidirectional movement of the whole organism towards or away from the stimulus is the tactic movement. So the tactic movement in response to chemical stimulus is chemotactic movement. Chemo means chemical stimulus. Example is sperms of liverwort, mosses, ferns, and they move towards archegonia in response to stimulus of nucleic acid, which is a chemical released by the ovum. Students, the movement in the curvature of the organ of the plant is tropic movement. The movement of plant organs in response to certain chemicals is chemotropism. So again, chemo means chemical stimulus. The example is the hyphae of fungi. It is chemotropic. That is, the extensions of fungi, they show chemotropic movement. They move towards substratum, which is the inner layer of soil and rock beneath the ground surface, to absorb chemicals. Now question number 2 is, how does haptonastic movement differ from nyctinastic movement? First of all, you should know what a nastic movement is. The non-directional movement of parts of the plant in response to the external stimulus is nastic movement. So it's a non-directional movement. Now the nastic movement that occur in response to contact are called haptonastic movement. The example is the action of Venus flytrap, as you can see in the diagram. Whenever a fly comes in contact with this plant, it eats that fly. So this type of movement is haptonastic movement. On the other hand, the plant movement that occurred in response to the darkness is nyctinastic movement. At night, darkness prevails. So N for night and N for nycti. So the plant movement that occurred in response to darkness is nyctinastic movement. The example is the flower of tulip close at night. Question number 3 is differentiate between autonomic and paratonic movement. Students, there are two types of movement in plants, autonomic movement and paratonic movement. The spontaneous movements due to internal causes are called autonomic movements, and these are automatically controlled. That is why these are known as autonomic movements. There are three types: tactic movement, Turgor movement, and growth movement. The unidirectional movement of the whole organism towards or away from the stimulus is tactic movement, as I told you earlier. On the other hand, the movement of plant caused by reversible change in cell volume due to change in the turgor is Turgor movement. And the movement caused by growth of the various plant organs are growth movements. Whereas the growth movements which may be induced by external stimulus are called paratonic movements. There are two types, tropic movements and nastic movements. The movement and curvature of the organ of the plant towards or away from the stimulus is tropic movement, and the non-directional movement of parts of the plant in response to external stimulus is nastic movement. Now, question number 4 is describe the characteristic of exoskeleton. The external mechanical framework of body is exoskeleton. So students, it's the external mechanical framework of body. It is hardened outer surface to which internal muscles are attached, and it is inert and non-living. It is secreted by endoderm, and it is composed up of two layers, epicuticle and procuticle. Epicuticle is the outermost layer made up of waxy lipoprotein, which is impermeable to water and serves as a barrier to microorganisms and insects. Below it is procuticle, and it is composed of chitin, that is a tough leathery polysaccharide, and several kinds of proteins. Further hardened by sclerotization, that is a hardening process, by the deposition of calcium. Now the disadvantages are rigidity, heaviness, and hindrance in growth. Exoskeleton is very rigid. And in majority of the individuals, the exoskeleton is heavy, therefore they cannot move freely. The animals with exoskeleton do not grow to large extent, that is, they remain small in size. Question number 5 is how arthropods have made adaptations within their exoskeleton. The adaptations are formation of ridges and bars, That is, the invagination of exoskeleton forms firm ridges and bars for the attachment of muscles. The second adaptation is the formation of joints. The exoskeleton of arthropods form joints, and the skeleton is thin, soft, and flexible at joint. These joints move very easily. The third adaptation is sensilla. As you can see in the diagram, it's the chitinous, hollow, hair-like sensory projections of arthropods. The sensilla are in the form of bristles. And the fourth and the final adaptation is the gaseous exchange. There are modifications in exoskeleton for gaseous exchange. Now question number 6 is define ecdysis and describe its major steps. Firstly, you should know what ecdysis means. The periodic shedding of the exoskeleton of arthropods during immature stages of the life is called ecdysis. So the periodic shedding of exoskeleton, it is called ecdysis. There are 4 stages. First stage is digestion of endocuticle. The old endocuticle is digested by the enzyme secreted from the hypodermal glands. The second stage is secretion of new procuticle. The digestion of endocuticle is followed by the secretion of new procuticle and epicuticle. The third stage is formation of pores. The old exoskeleton splits and pores are formed in it. And fourth stage is hardening of exoskeleton. Finally, the new exoskeleton is hardened by the deposition of calcium carbonates. During the hardening process, the arthropods is vulnerable to predators, so they remain hidden. Question number 7 is enlist the major functions of skeletal system. Students, the hardened framework of an animal body, serving as a support and for protecting soft parts, is called skeletal system. The main functions are as support and shape, protection, movement, mineral homeostasis, and blood cell production. The skeletal system provides support and shape to the body. It protects the inner delicate organs like heart, lungs, kidneys, brain, etc. It helps in movements by the attachment of muscles to the skeletal system. And bones can release or take up minerals like calcium, sodium, potassium, and phosphorus through negative feedback mechanism to maintain homeostasis. And it produces blood cells like red blood cells and white blood cells. They are produced in the bone marrow. Now question number 8 is write the names and functions of types of bone cells. The most rigid form of connective tissue is bone. And you know that connective tissue, it supports and binds other tissues of the body. There are 3 types of bone cells, as you can see in the diagram: osteoblast, osteocytes, and osteoclast. The cells which form the calcareous matrix of the bone are called osteoblasts, and these are immature bone cells, whereas the mature bone cells are called osteocytes. And the multinucleate amoeboid cells are called osteoclast, like these cells. They are multinucleate. The bone replaces the cartilage in early development of bone, so the osteoclast invade and dissolve cartilage. Now question number 6 is differentiate between hyaline and fibrocartilage. Students, cartilage is a connective tissue and it is made up of chondrocytes. The cell's name is chondrocyte, as you can see in the diagram. It secretes flexible, elastic, non-living matrix, that is collagen. It covers end of the bone at joints, and it also supports the flexible portion of nose and external ear. There are 2 types, hyaline cartilage and fibrocartilage. Now let's see what hyaline cartilage is. It's the most abundant type. It is found at the end of movable joints. Whereas a cartilage which has fibers made up of collagen in the matrix is called fibrocartilage. It has fibers. That is why it is known as fibrocartilage. It forms external pinnae of ear present in the epiglottis, intervertebral disc of mammals, and joints of skull. I hope this video was helpful. If you like this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Wishing you all the best.